You know, Wendy, when I analyze all the facts of the matter, what we know, what we don't know, here's the key question, I think. Who do you have more contempt for, that nasty neighbor who called the police on you, or the police that have gone ahead with what I deem to be preposterous charges?
Without a question, the OPP. Yeah, it's so disappointing. So disappointing.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Simcoe, Ontario, and I am standing with Wendy Washek. And earlier this month, Wendy was charged. What was she charged with? Assault with a weapon. Ooh, that sounds serious. And what kind of weapon? Was it a knife, an axe, a handgun? No, it was a water gun. No, this is not an April Fool's joke. Wendy was actually charged by members of the Ontario Provincial Police for, well, I guess the illicit use of a child's plaything, a water gun. This is the most incredible story, I think, so far of 2024, but the year has 3 months to go yet. Wendy, take us back to, I believe it was the Labor Day weekend. You were involved 3 houses down with a child's party, and you're having a little fun. It's a water gun fight. Then how did things go off the rails?
Well, actually, it was just a neighborhood get-together to meet some new neighbors that we've never met before. And we were in the backyard eating, and I noticed this young boy. He was really bored because the kids hadn't come yet. And I asked him if he had some water guns, and he said, yeah. I said, well, let's run across the street. Let's grab them. And we grabbed them, filled them up with water. We were squirting each other out front of the houses. Then we ran into the backyard where everyone was, squirted a few people, and he took off down the side of the house. So I took off after him. I was still trying to figure out the child's water gun, and I was pumping the water gun and spraying at the same time. And as I was going through the gate, I sprayed the neighbor that was out front, no further than 3 feet away, sprayed him on the chest with the water.
And this was accidental, I take it?
Absolutely, it was accidental. And I started to apologize profusely many, many times. I bet you I apologized at least 10 times, and he was screaming at me, shouting at me. He wouldn't listen to the neighbors that came out because they could hear him screaming. They wanted to see what was going on, and they tried to reason with him, and there was no reasoning with him, and it just got worse, the screaming. And he went inside. He said he was going to call the police, and went in, and the police were called. We all went out into the back waiting for the police because we figured we'd be asked to give a statement. About 45 minutes later, my husband was out my retired husband from the OPP was out front talking to these policemen, and they said, go get your wife. She's being charged with assault with a weapon. And
they're saying this before they even hear your side of the story.
They hadn't talked to one single person. Okay. Didn't say anything to me. My husband got me and took me to the car, and they filled out the citation and charged me. I didn't go in the police car or anything, but I was charged with assault with a weapon. Signed it, and that was it.
You know, Wendy, this is incredible, and this is a very interesting factor. The fact that your husband is retired OPP. One would think, you know, the retired police officer, your husband, and the constables that came, you know, would have a little powwow. They would realize this was A, accidental, B, it was just water on a hot summer day. It wasn't some kind of chemical that would do any damage. But no, they went right to you obviously had some intent to do harm, I suppose. What in the aftermath? What was your reaction, and as well your husband's?
We were both astounded. My husband just couldn't believe it. The police officers knew he was a retired police officer. He had mentioned that to them after they had said they were charging me. And they didn't seem to care, and that's the impression I got. I was traumatized for that week after. I did not sleep. Mentally, I was not well. My kids went through a lot of stress because they've been trying to help with the GoFundMe, the Give, Send, Go. They're trying to do their job. My daughter's at school. My husband, nobody could believe it.
And speaking of school, you are an educational assistant, and lo and behold, I don't know whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty. You're on suspension, aren't you, over this?
Yeah, I don't know if it's actual suspension, but I'm on leave with pay until it's settled.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that? Because it almost seems that whoever your employer is in the educational system, they are considering, well, maybe you did do something serious.
Yeah, I don't think they're thinking that way. I think just because it's a publicly funded, it's children I'm working with and staff and parents, and I'm sure if someone gets the wrong idea, there would be complaints of me being back to work. So yeah, I expected that, but I was still surprised.
Here's another aspect. You mentioned both GoFundMe and Give, Send, Go. And the reason for that, folks, is Wendy began a GoFundMe campaign, and then suddenly, because there was, I guess, an aura of criminality to it, GoFundMe suspended that campaign. Golly, where have we heard that one before? Wendy, what do you make of that, too? Because, again, this seems to me like GoFundMe deeming you guilty before there's been 1 hour of trial even.
Yeah, it certainly did make me feel guilty. I spiraled down because I knew all the hard work that my kids have put into this, and, you know, they're upset that they're saying that they can't give us any of the money. We did end up with some of the money, but not all of it.
And how much was raised, by the way?
Just over $12,000, and we were given just over $11,000, which I was happy with. Okay. But yeah, it's really upsetting because that was a lot of hard work, a lot of news media. Yeah.
And now you're on to Give, Send, Go. So I don't think they buckle to any kind of woke pressure or what have you. Wendy, a key element to your story is who exactly is this person that went right to 911 to call the police? Have you had any previous dealings with him that were sour before?
I've never had any dealings with him, nothing gone sour. I didn't even know his name until that week. Never spoke to him. I think I said hello to his wife when we first moved in 2 years ago. But I know there's been dealings in the neighborhood.
Indeed, you were telling me off camera that there's signage around his house, like no trespassing. He built a fence on his front yard. It looks like the only house in the neighborhood that has a front yard fence. I think he's complained about a child's ball landing on his lawn. He seems like such a grouch if these anecdotes are true.
Yeah. I haven't had issues like that with him, but I know neighbors have said they have.
And you didn't even know his name, but apparently he knew your name.
Yeah. Yes, he knew my name and he knew my husband's.
What do you make of that, given that you never had dealings?
I was actually really shocked and startled when he was yelling my name. I was like, oh, how do you even know what my name is? It's kind of bizarre.
There is so much real serious crime, even in a little place like Simcoe. Why would the police even bother with something that doesn't even register as trivial to me?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I've been asked that several times. Just astounded that, yeah, it went this far and they took the time to charge me. And because, yeah, we have lots of crime in this area too. It's everywhere.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I personally haven't had any encounters with these individuals. I see the signs. I try to keep my distance. I don't want any unnecessary drama.
Yes.
If they go to the bathroom on the boulevard, that's one thing. So yeah. I just try to be polite of what they want.
Yes.
In regards to the water gun, I think it's ridiculous. A water gun's a water gun. We play with children all the time, as you see. I'm expecting. So,
okay.
A water gun.
Congratulations.
A water gun fight or an accidental water gun exposure shouldn't have warranted anything, in my opinion.
Before he had the black fence, and the kids play on the street. There's a bunch of them that are all friends. They play together, and the ball went on the property one day, and I guess he came out and started swearing at the kids and told them to go away and get lost, in better words, right? And my son had come over and talked to me about it, and then. About 2 hours after that, I guess the ball went on the property again, and I heard the neighbors all yelling. We were in the backyard, so I came out and I said, everybody calm down. Let me come over and talk to the gentleman, right? And I came over and he said, don't even think about stepping foot on the property, and just started swearing and cursing. And I said, hey, enough with the F-bombs, like I come over here to talk to you like an adult. And I said, if the soccer ball goes on your thing, we can fix all that, but I'm over here because of the way you're talking to the kids. And he just kept on throwing the F-bombs and everything. I said, enough already. Like, let's get over this. And he said, I'm going to call the police. I said, call the police and show them the video when you get here, because I'm trying to talk to you like an adult, and you just keep on swearing.
And did the police respond to it again?
Twice that day they came. Yeah, they came that time, and then they just said that, to be quite frank, that he was kind of unreasonable, just stay away from him. And then a couple hours later, they were called back because I guess the ball came over here again, and they came over and they said, hey, I thought we made a compromise. And I said, we did. And I said, but the guy's really kind of, out there. I was like, the ball going on the grass doesn't equate to the way he's talking to the kids. They're young kids. They're probably getting upset by the way they're treated now. Like, we can keep them off of there. So we don't actually allow the kids to play on the street anymore. We make them go other places now just to try to hold it.
Well, folks, we're at the house where the so-called victim resides, the victim of a water gun squirt. And right off the bat, you can tell that there are some things here that are unlike the others in terms of the other homes in this very quiet residential street in Simcoe. For example, you see the black iron fencing on the front yard. No other house has that. And there's also signage. The one over there says private property, no trespassing, no dogs. And this sign says no dogs, keep dogs off the lawn. I don't know how they could get on the lawn. There's actually a fence blocking them, and 24-hour surveillance. And speaking of 24-hour surveillance, my cameraman Lincoln and I, we counted at least a half dozen cameras. It's as though it's a bank as opposed to a residential home. I also notice there are a few parcels, presumably from Amazon, on the porch. I think that indicates that with the media attention on this crazy matter, maybe they aren't home, maybe they're staying elsewhere until this story cools down. But we're all about getting the other side of the story, so I think we have to do our due diligence, at least knock on the door, see if anyone's home. If they don't want to talk, that's fine, we'll leave right away. But let's go for a house call, shall we? Well, folks, I don't think anyone's home. I rang the bell twice. I don't see a single light on in the house. So presumably they've flown the coop. Maybe they have buyer's remorse in terms of phoning the police. Maybe they are getting so much attention from both mainstream and independent media. And really, what sort of person would say that these folks did the right thing? Why not say, listen, these are trivial, trite matters. You do this again, you're going to be charged. Why is this guy getting catered to time and time and time again?
I don't know. We've asked the same question. We've all kind of asked the same question when it happens. We've had 3 calls now. Our neighbors have had 11 calls on them, and it's like, listen,
11 calls?
None of this is really criminal. Like, it's kids being kids, people being out on the street, living their lives. Like, nothing is affecting him totally. Like, why is he just keep on calling and we're getting harassed saying we're going to get charged if it happens again, but there's nothing where the way he's talking to the kids or the numerous calls that don't justify anything. I mean, really, his property doesn't supposed to start back to the water mains or way back there. So the one time, as far as the kids were said, and other neighbors said it, is the ball was on the sidewalk when he started yelling at him. It wasn't even like it was on his property itself. We have so much going on in our country right now with all the other things that's going on. The fact that a water gun, on a very harmless situation where she's playing with neighborhood kids and being a great neighbor and being out with those kids that didn't have someone to play with that day. I mean, it's just so stupid in my mind that they allowed it to happen and still press the charge at the same time. I mean, I get that they have a job to do, but I feel like it's a very one-sided when it should be, hey, listen, what's the full story here? What's going on?
This neighborhood is beautiful. It's quiet. We have each other's backs. We're supportive. I don't think we'd ever complain to each other. And if we did, it'd be very civil.
Well, folks, here we are at the OPP Norfolk County Detachment. Naturally, I'd love to hear what the Ontario Provincial Police have to say about an incident that I think is surreal, bordering on bizarre. Funny thing is, even though the website for this detachment says they're open 24 hours, I just found out by looking at the door, the detachment closes at 4:15. So I guess for all you criminals out there, and I mean real criminals, not squirt gun felons, maybe you want to confine your criminality till after 4:15, but I digress. I don't think I would get much comment, though, other than what the OPP has released previously regarding all the attention on this incident, and I'll read it verbatim in a press release. Quote, Ontario Provincial Police Norfolk County Detachment responded to a neighbor dispute on Woodway Trail in Simcoe, Norfolk County. It was determined that two individuals were involved in a dispute on the premise, resulting in the victim being physically assaulted, end quote. The release went on to state that no injuries were reported and one individual was taken into custody without incident and charged with assault with a weapon. Again, it is crazy. Why are they using this kind of language? Assault and assault with a weapon and victim. I mean, this guy, by all accounts, got a little bit of H2O on his chest on a hot summer day. In any event, folks, the first court date for this case is September 24th. We'll make sure to attend the proceedings, and let's see if justice is going to be done. And by that, I mean dismissing these outrageous charges that should never have been laid in the first place. Well, folks, I know you love it when Rebel News brings you the other side of the story, but the fact remains we need your help. Unlike the mainstream media, we don't get any money from the Justin Trudeau Liberals, nor would we accept it if offered. Please go to rebelfieldreports.com. That's rebelfieldreports.com, and if you're able to, kindly make a donation.